Hi friends, have you subscribed yet? Subscribe, we have new stories every day, childhood bonds, and adult choices. Jacob and Emma had known each other since the first grade. Their parents were close friends, and weekend barbecues often turned into late-night storytelling sessions, while the kids played hide-and-seek in the backyard. Growing up in a quiet neighborhood in Austin, Texas, they were more than just friends. They were practically family. By high school, it was clear to everyone that Jacob and Emma were inseparable. They went to prom together, shared their first kiss under the stars, and supported each other through every teenage crisis imaginable. Jacob was Emma's first love, and she was his. Their connection was the kind that made old couples smile nostalgically. After college, marriage seemed like the natural next step. Their wedding was a community affair, with neighbors contributing homemade dishes and the local band playing their favorite songs. They rented a spacious apartment downtown, complete with a view of the city skyline and enough room to dream about the future. A year later, they welcomed their son, Noah. Life was bustling with diaper changes, late-night feedings, and the kind of joy that only a newborn can bring. But amidst the happiness, Jacob began to notice subtle changes in Emma. One evening, as they were folding laundry, Emma sighed. "Sometimes I feel like we're more like brother and sister than husband and wife," she said, not meeting his eyes. Jacob chuckled. "Well, considering we've known each other since we were 5, that's not too surprising." She frowned. "Doesn't that bother you?" He shrugged. "Not really. I think it's special. We know each other inside and out. It's like having a best friend and a partner all in one." She forced a smile. "Yeah, I guess you're right." Jacob brushed it off, thinking she was just tired. After all, taking care of a baby was no small feat, and he was working extra hours at the tech startup to support their growing family. As months passed, Emma's restlessness grew. When Noah turned 1, she approached Jacob with an idea over breakfast. "I've been thinking," she began cautiously. "Avo," Jacob teased, taking a sip of his coffee. "Should I be worried?" She rolled her eyes, smiling slightly. "Very funny. I was thinking maybe we could hire a nanny. Just part-time, so I can have a little more time for myself." He looked at her thoughtfully. "If that's what you want, of course. You deserve a break." "Really?" Her eyes lit up. "I thought you'd need more convincing." He laughed. "Hey, if it means you won't make me watch another episode of that terrible reality show with you, I'm all for it." She playfully smacked his arm. "You know you secretly love Housewives of Austin. Only because it makes our life seem blissfully normal," he retorted with a grin. They hired Sarah, a cheerful nanny with glowing references and an uncanny ability to make Noel giggle uncontrollably. With free time on her hands, Emma began visiting her old friend, Jessica, who lived a few blocks away. "Just catching up with Jess," Emma would say as she headed out the door. "Don't wait up. Have fun," Jacob replied, engrossed in his laptop. "Tell her I said hi." At first, Emma's outings were occasional. She'd return home with amusing anecdotes about Jessica's latest dating disasters or office dramas. Jacob enjoyed hearing her laugh. It reminded him of simpler times. But soon, the visits became more frequent. Emma started coming home later, sometimes with the scent of wine lingering on her breath. One night, Jacob was dozing off on the couch when the front door creaked open. He glanced at the clock. Midnight. "Emma." She stumbled slightly as she kicked off her heels. "Hey there, sleepyhead," she slurred. "Everything okay?" he asked, concerned. "Never better," she declared, throwing her purse onto the chair. "Jessica and I had the best time." He sat up. "It's pretty late. You sure you should be driving?" She waved a hand dismissively. "It's just a few blocks. Besides, the car knows the way." He frowned. "Maybe next time, call me to pick you up." She laughed. "Don't be such a worrywart. I'm a big girl." The pattern continued. Emma's late nights became the norm, and Jacob couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One Friday, after a grueling day at work, Jacob returned home to find Sarah feeding Noah in the kitchen. "Hey, Sarah, where's Emma?" he asked. Sarah looked uncomfortable. "She didn't tell you. She said she'd be out late tonight." He sighed. "Did she say where she was going?" "Just that she'd be at Jessica's," Sarah replied, avoiding his gaze. "All right, thanks," he muttered, trying to mask his frustration. By 11 o'clock, with no word from Emma, Jacob decided to call her. His calls went straight to voicemail. "Probably just lost track of time," he told himself, though unease gnawed at him. The next morning, Emma walked in as the sun was rising, looking disheveled. "Morning," she said casually, heading straight for the coffee maker. "Morning." Jacob echoed incredulously. "Emma, it's 6 a.m. Where have you been?" She poured herself a cup. "I crashed at Jessica's. Didn't think it was a big deal. A call would have been nice," he said tightly. She shrugged. "My phone died." "Relax. Emma, I'm starting to worry. This isn't like you." She shot him a glare. "Maybe you don't know me as well as you think." He was taken aback. "What's that supposed to mean?" She sighed heavily. "Look, Jacob, not everything revolves around you and Noah. I need my own space." He held up his hands. "I'm not trying to smother you. I just want to make sure you're safe." "Safe? I'm not a child," she snapped before retreating to the bedroom. Feeling helpless, Jacob decided to give her some space, hoping things would improve. A week later, Emma didn't come home at all. By midnight, panic set in. He tried Jessica's number. "Hey, Jacob," Jessica answered, sounding surprised. "Is Emma with you?" There was a pause. She was earlier, but she left with some friends." "What friends?" "Just some people we met at the bar," Jessica said evasively. "Which bar?" "The Rusty Nail." He felt a surge of frustration. "Thanks." The Rusty Nail was a dive bar on the edge of town, not the kind of place Emma would usually go. He drove there, the neon signs casting eerie glows on the empty streets. Inside, the bar was dim and filled with a haze of smoke. Scanning the room, he spotted Emma in a corner booth, laughing loudly with a group of strangers. Beside her sat a man with a rugged beard and a tattoo peeking out from under his sleeve. "Emma," Jacob called out as he approached. She looked up, her smile fading. "Jacob, what are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same," he replied tersely. The bearded man eyed Jacob. "Who's this?" "I'm her husband," Jacob stated, staring him down. The man smirked. "Didn't mention you were married. Must have slipped my mind," Emma said flippantly. Jacob's patience snapped. "We need to go. Now." She rolled her eyes. "Don't make a scene." He grabbed her arm gently. "Emma, please." The man stood up. "Hey, buddy, she doesn't want to go." "Stay out of this," Jacob warned. "Or what?" the man challenged, stepping closer. Before Jacob could think, his fist connected with the man's jaw, sending him stumbling backward into the table. Chaos erupted. Patrons shouted, and the bartender yelled, "Take it outside." Emma screamed. "Jacob, what are you doing?" He turned to her, pain and anger in his eyes. "Let's go." She stared at him defiantly but eventually grabbed her purse. "Fine." They drove home in silence, tension thick in the air. Inside the apartment, Emma whirled on him. "How dare you embarrass me like that?" "Me embarrass you?" he exclaimed. "You're the one out drinking with strangers, acting like someone I don't even know." "Maybe you never knew me," she shot back. "What's happening to us?" he asked softly. She sank onto the couch, her bravado fading. "I don't know. I just feel trapped." "Trapped? We've built a life together. We have a son." "I know," she whispered. "But sometimes I feel like we got caught up in what everyone else wanted for us." He sat beside her. "Emma, we've been together our whole lives. Isn't that something worth fighting for?" She looked at him, tears welling up. "I need more than familiarity. I need excitement, passion." He sighed deeply. "So what are you saying?" "I think we should take a break," she said quietly. His heart sank. "And what about Noah? We'll figure out a way to make it work," she assured him. The next few weeks were a blur. Emma moved out, leaving Jacob in the apartment that now echoed with emptiness. He focused on caring for Noah, who became his anchor in the storm. One afternoon, while at the playground, Jacob bumped into an old college friend, Mark. "Jacob, is that you?" Mark called out. "Mark, long time no see." Jacob greeted him with a hand. They sat on a bench, watching Noah play. "So how's life?" Mark asked. Jacob hesitated. "It's complicated." Mark raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like a story over a beer." They met later at a local pub, and Jacob found himself pouring out the whole tale. "Man, that's rough," Mark sympathized. "But you know, sometimes people drift apart. Doesn't make it any easier, though." "Yeah," Jacob sighed. "I just didn't see it coming." "Well, for what it's worth, you're a great guy. Don't let this define you. Thanks, Jacob said appreciatively. So enough about me. What's new with you? Mark grinned. Actually, I'm organizing a charity event next month. Could use someone with your skills. Charity? Huh, sounds interesting. Think about it. Might be a good distraction. Jacob agreed, and for the first time in a while, he felt a glimmer of purpose. Meanwhile, Emma struggled with her new life. The initial thrill had worn off, and she found herself missing the stability she once resented. One evening, she called Jessica. I feel like I've made a huge mistake, Emma confessed. Jessica sighed. I tried to warn you. Grass isn't always greener. I thought I wanted freedom, but now I'm just lost. Maybe you should talk to Jacob. I don't think he'd want to hear from me, Emma said sadly. You won't know unless you try. Summoning her courage, Emma decided to visit Jacob. She knocked on the familiar door, her heart pounding. Jacob opened it, surprise flickering across his face. Emma, he said cautiously. Is everything okay? I was hoping we could talk, she said softly. He hesitated but stepped aside. Sure. They sat at the kitchen table, memories of countless meals shared in better times hanging in the air. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she began. I realize now that I took our life for granted. He looked at her, expression guarded. What do you want me to say, Emma? I miss you. I miss us. I want to try again, she said, tears brimming. He sighed. Emma, you walked away. You can't just expect everything to go back to the way it was. I know I've hurt you, and I'm so sorry, she whispered, but I believe we can rebuild. He shook his head slowly. It's not that simple. Trust has been broken. Can't we at least try counseling? For Noah's sake. He paused, conflicted. I'll think about it. Over the next few weeks, they attended counseling sessions. Progress was slow and fraught with emotion. Jacob struggled to reconcile his love for Emma with the pain she'd caused. One evening after a session, Emma turned to him outside the therapist's office. Do you think we'll ever get back to how we were? She asked hopefully. He looked at the sunset, the sky ablaze with color. Maybe not how we were, but maybe we can find a new path forward. She smiled tentatively. I'd like that. They began spending more time together as a family, taking Noah to the zoo, sharing dinners, and slowly rebuilding their connection. One Saturday, Jacob suggested a picnic at their favorite park. As they spread out the blanket, Emma laughed. Remember when we were kids and got lost here? He grinned. How could I forget? We thought we'd have to live off berries and tree bark. She shook her head, smiling. We've come a long way since then. That we have, he agreed. As Noah chased butterflies nearby, Emma took Jacob's hand. Thank you for giving us another chance, she said sincerely. He squeezed her hand gently. Let's take it one day at a time. Epilogue. Jacob and Emma continued their journey of healing. It wasn't easy, and there were setbacks along the way, but they were committed to rebuilding their relationship. They learned to communicate better, to appreciate each other's individuality, and to find new shared interests. Jacob became involved in charity work with Mark, discovering a passion for helping others. Emma pursued art classes, rekindling a love for painting she'd forgotten. One evening, as they tucked Noah into bed, he looked up at them sleepily. Mommy, Daddy, are we happy now? He asked innocently. Jacob and Emma exchanged a glance. Yes, sweetheart, Emma whispered, kissing his forehead. We're happy. As they left Noah's room, Jacob put his arm around Emma. Feels like we're finding our way back, he said softly. She leaned into him. Maybe we're finding a new path altogether. He smiled. Either way, I'm glad we're walking it together. They stood there for a moment, the quiet hum of the house enveloping them, a family rediscovering love, trust, and the beauty of second chances.